Good morning, class. Today we will begin with our second presentation. Our first presentation was basic forms of communication. This one is sentences, fragments, and run-on sentences. Before we begin with our new class, we will give a small review of the material given in our last class. Now, we said at the end that a language has to have a structure and form, and that structure, for it to be meaningful, it has to be a complete thought. And we said that a complete thought is a sentence, and an incomplete thought would be a fragment. Now let's look at the two examples we have here in the bottom. Carmen bought a new dress at Plaza Carolina. That's a sentence. Saving her money after her birthday is a fragment. Now, which is the difference between a sentence and a fragment? Well, there's four basic rules that we're going to discuss now. En la clase anterior hablamos de oraciones y fragmentos y dijimos que si el pensamiento es completo, es una oración. Y si está incompleto, es un fragmento. Miremos los dos ejemplos abajo. Uno es una oración y la otra es un fragmento. ¿Cómo sabemos la diferencia? Porque hay cuatro reglas que vamos a discutir en el momento de ahora para tú saber cuál es la diferencia entre una oración y un fragmento. Now, Milariano showed me in first grade that there are four criteria for a thought to be considered a sentence. Four simple rules. Number one, it always begins in a capital letter. Number two, it always ends in a correct punctuation mark. It could be a period, it could be an exclamation point, it could be an interrogative mark, but it has to end in the correct punctuation mark. It has to have a subject and a verb agreement. That means a subject and a predicate. And the predicate is the action in the sentence. That means that one word could be a predicate. And the last one and the most important one is it has to make sense. These are the four basic rules. Las cuatro reglas para que un pensamiento se considere una oración. First, primero, tiene que comenzar en letra mayúscula. Dos, terminar en el signo de puntuación correcto, ya sea un punto, un signo de interrogación, un signo de exclamación. Tiene que tener un sujeto y un predicado, un verbo. Eso quiere decir que si tiene un verbo y es un sujeto, puede ser una oración. No tiene que ser muchas palabras. Con dos palabras se puede hacer una oración. Es más, con una. Y the most important criteria, it has to make sense. Tiene que tener sentido. Miremos los ejemplos que vimos ahorita. Carmen bought a new dress at Plaza Carolina. Let's look to see if it has the four rules. Does it begin in capital letter? Yes. Does it end in correct punctuation? Yes. Does it have a subject and a predicate? Yes. Does it make sense? Yes. Then this is a sentence. Si lo miras, Carmen compró un traje nuevo en Plaza Carolina. Comienza en letra mayúscula. Sí. Termina en un punto. Punto, un signo de puntuación correcto. Sí. Tiene un sujeto. Claro, Carmen. Predicado, compró. ¿Tiene sentido? Carmen compró un traje nuevo en Plaza Carolina. Claro que sí. Esto es una oración. Now let's look at the other example. Saving her money after her birthday. It does begin in a capital letter, and it does have a punctuation mark. But when we get to the subject and predicate, that's where we have the issue, because it doesn't have a defined subject. Saving her money after her birthday. Guardando su dinero después de su cumpleaños. Algo le falta ahí. Y por eso es que no podemos decir que es una oración porque no tiene un sentido completo. Now, we said before that one word can be a sentence. Dijimos anteriormente que una palabra puede ser una oración. Look at the two examples, run and please. Uno dice corre y el otro dice por favor. Now, both of them start in capital letter. They both have punctuation marks, but only one of them has a subject and a predicate. And you're going to say, how could that be? It's only one word. Oh, yes, there is one that has a subject and a verb. There's only one of them that makes sense. If I say run, run, what are you going to do? You're going to run. If I say please, you're going to say what? Please what? It's not complete. It doesn't make sense. For that reason, run would be considered the sentence. Yo te digo a ti, corre, corre, ¿qué tú vas a hacer? Vas a correr. Pero te digo, por favor, ¿qué significa eso? ¿Hay un pensamiento completo? No. Entonces, tú vas a decir, una sola palabra puede ser una oración. Si hay un pensamiento completo, sí. Now let's look at the word run. Which is the subject? ¿Dónde está el sujeto? Tú vas a decirme. Si lo que hay una sola palabra. Cuando yo digo corre, corre, ¿a quién yo le hablo? Pues obviamente a ti. Cuando nosotros hablamos y se implica un sujeto que no está expresado, eso se llama un sujeto omitido. ¿Okay? Y eso quiere decir que a la persona que estoy dirigiéndome, eres tú. ¿Okay? Si yo te digo ahora, ¿tienes un bolígrafo? ¿A quién yo le estoy hablando? ¿A ti? Es un sujeto, tú, pero no está escrito. Y esto es lo que pasa aquí. Cuando yo digo corre, when I say run, I'm talking to you. And even though it's not there, it's implied that I'm talking to you. When a subject is implied and it's me, the person that's receiving the action, that's considered an omitted subject. So the word run is a sentence. Which is a rule for one word to be a sentence? It has to be an action. Fire, run, jump. Something that the person that's receiving the action understand that they have to do something. Now, today's class, let's jump this one. Okay? Now, today's class is about run-on sentences. And this is a mistake commonly made by all of us. Believe me, I used to make these mistakes all the time. But I learned how to fix them. And that's what we're going to do the next class. But for today, we're going to see what's a run-on sentence. Now look at the example. Pepita is sick. She went to the hospital. Now, does it begin in capital letter? Yes. Does it have a period? Yes. Does it have a subject and a predicate? No. Does it make sense? Yes. Why is this not a sentence? Very basic. Because when we say it's a sentence, it's one complete thought. One. Let's read that sentence. Pepita is sick. She went to the hospital. If you read that very carefully, you'll notice that there's not one complete thought. There are two. Pepita is sick. She went to the hospital. ¿Qué son run-ons? Mira esta oración. Pepita is sick. Ella fue al hospital. Cuando tú lees eso, ¿hay un pensamiento completo? No. Hay dos. Aquí hay dos oraciones unidas y parece solamente una. Y eso se llama un run-on sentence. Muchas veces cometemos este error que empezamos a escribir y seguimos escribiendo y no nos damos cuenta que hay muchos pensamientos unidos y no están separados. Now, What is a run-on sentence? ¿Qué es lo define? A run-on sentence is when you have two or more complete thoughts without separating each thought. Es cuando tú tienes más de un pensamiento unido y no tienes ninguna separación, o lo que lo separa es incorrecto. Y hay más de una forma de un run-on. Hay dos. What are the two types of run-on sentences? Fused sentence and comma splice. Fused, función, comma splice, corte con una coma. Fused sentence is what we saw at the beginning. Pepita 6, she went to the hospital. Es esto mismo lo que vimos al principio. Este es un run-on, pero es fused sentence. ¿Okay? Quiere decir que tengo dos oraciones, o puede ser más, unidas, sin ninguna separación. Comma splice es lo que ustedes hacen tan y tan a menudo. Tiene dos oraciones, ¿qué hacemos rápido? Ponemos una coma. Eso es incorrecto. You cannot divide two complete thoughts with a comma. That's incorrect. Comma splice is when you divide two complete thoughts with a comma. You cannot do that. No, no, no. And you're going to tell me you've seen it, and I'm going to tell you you're wrong. You cannot separate two sentences with a comma. But there's a rule, and we're going to discuss that rule the next class. The important thing right now is for us to recognize when there is a run-on. And that's what I want you to do today's practice, okay? Now let's go into the practice. This is the exercise. I want you to find where the sentence has the run-on and divide it with a line. Constancia is turning 40 years old. Her family are throwing a surprise birthday party. Constancia se va a cumplir 40 años. Su familia le va a hacer una fiesta de sorpresa. Búscame dónde está la división y divídemelo. Eso es lo único que yo quiero en el día de hoy. Nada más. ¿Cómo lo vamos a arreglar? Eso lo vamos a saber en la próxima clase. Remember, sentences can have more than one run-on. If you look at the second example, you have three, okay? Now, here in the presentation, you have four sentences. I want you to take the time and practice this. Take out your notebook, write the four exercises, and try to divide them where they go. Here in the presentation, I am going to show you the answers, but I would like you to take the time. Hit a pause. Pause the presentation right here. Write the four exercises in your notebook and do them. En estos momentos yo lo que te estoy dando son 4 ejercicios. Quiero que tú cojas tu libreta, ábralo, escríbelo, divida los pensamientos. Recuérdese que puede haber más de 2 pensamientos. Pausa, dale pausa a la presentación, hágalo. No mire la contestación hasta tanto tú no lo practiques usted solito, porque lo más importante en estos momentos es que usted sepa dónde se va la división de los pensamientos. This is the answer to that exercise. Okay? You see where it's all divided. Make sure that you can find which is the answers correct that you have and which are incorrect. And let's practice it with the homework I'm going to give you. Now, I'm going to give you a homework, and you have until tomorrow to turn it in because you guys don't have enough time today. Okay? So you have until 12 tomorrow. Okay. Good luck and good afternoon.